Okay, we are going to get started on our week 4 presentations. I'm going to do a quick screen share and we will get started. Okay. Here is our week 4 presentation. This week, we're going to go over an eyebrow lift. We're going to talk about microneedling, and then we're going to do our AR review for employee discounts and touch-ups, and then marketing ideas for the week. All right, so let's talk about an eyebrow lift. So when we are doing an eyebrow lift, we are going to be treating the orbicularis oculi muscle. Normally, it is considered a depressor muscle group, but when we paralyze this muscle, we elevate it. So if we accidentally cause a little eyebrow ptosis, we can do an eyebrow lift to help lift it back up. Or if the patient is just naturally hooded and we want to go ahead and we want to do that eyebrow lift just with our treatment, we can do that as well. I have several patients, when I treat their frontalis, I automatically do an eyebrow lift on them. And just to remember, when you do an eyebrow lift, you have 2 different ways that you can do it. The first way is going to be, you can do right at the tip of the eyebrow, and you do 2.5 fluid units at the tip, or you can do 1 centimeter in. I don't know why this is not. Okay. I'm on the struggle bus with technology today.
Hi, I'm Zoe Gong. As a traditional Chinese medicine chef and food therapist, I love using Squarespace to share my recipes.
How to upgrade your eyebrow lift game. One of the common struggles of new injectors is how to get a brow lift, or at least how to identify those patients who won't be getting a brow lift before you try. Now, I've done videos on this before, and I've annoyed a lot of people by explaining all the principles without showing you the exact points to inject. This time I will, but there was an important reason why I didn't in previous explanations. Are you ready? Don't forget to give this show a like if it helps you. Okay, so here are the injection points to create a brow lift. If you do this on all your patients, you will get okay results on most of them, but you will sometimes get bad results, and you may lift eyebrows too much in some patients and drop them in others. The reason is every face is different. Despite the appealing idea that there's one universal pattern that will solve all your problems, the truth is there isn't. Every treatment needs to be designed around the nuanced differences between each patient, their age, muscle strength, sex, eyebrow shape, and the desired results. What we need to understand are the principles from which you can appropriately design a treatment for any face. These principles are like the Lego bricks of treatment design. Once you understand the properties of each Lego brick, you can use it to create bespoke designs for individual patients. So what are the principles we need to understand? First, the shape of the ideal female eyebrow, because it's usually females that we're lifting eyebrows on, and in many ways, eyebrow lifts in men are a bit limited because they feminize faces. So the eyebrow should fit in with the other facial features, and the female eyebrow has been well described by artists. The medial border should be linking the alar base, the inner canthus, and the head of the brow. The tail of the eyebrow should be on a line that runs from the alar base through the lateral canthus to the end of the tail of the eyebrow. And the arch of the eyebrow is typically on a line running from the alar base through the pupil to the arch. With respect to the eyebrow lift, knowing the position of the arch of the eyebrow is key to knowing which parts of the muscle need to be left with strength to lift the eyebrow. On that topic, before we dive into that, let's refresh which muscles actually affect eyebrow position. You can divide the face into eyebrow elevators and eyebrow depressors. The eyebrow is elevated by the frontalis muscle upwards and laterally. The eyebrow is pulled down and medial by the corrugator supercilii. and the procerus muscle and the depressor supercilii pull the medial head of the eyebrow down. The orbicularis oculi pulls the eyebrow inferior and medially, laterally, and inferior laterally, medially. Essentially, the most important thing for us to understand is the lateral component. Now that we understand the muscles and which directions they pull, it becomes more intuitive how relaxing muscles or affecting their resting tone can affect the balance of forces across the eyebrow and therefore its relative position. Fundamentally, there are two ways that botulinum toxin can affect the position of the eyebrow. First, it has been observed that if you relax half of a muscle, the other half actually increases its resting tone. This is very useful when treating the medial frontalis, as it makes the lateral frontalis more active in some cases, which is typically where we want to lift the eyebrows. The second way that neuromodulators can alter the position of the eyebrow is by altering the vector across the eyebrows. Vectors are simply a force with a particular direction, and the eyebrow is held in a balanced position by the forces from all the muscles. You could think of the eyebrow as being in a tug of war. As injectors, we get to decide which side will win, the elevators or the depressors. As we've discussed, we have control over both how strong the elevators are and how weak the depressors are, giving us variations in the degree of lift possible. Let's consider the weakest possible lift. We could look simply at a muscle that is involved in restraining the eyebrow and pulling it down and relax it slightly. The most logical place to do this, if we are lifting the lateral brow, is by injecting the orbicularis oculi muscle just at the area where it pulls the eyebrow down. A 4-unit injection into the tail of the eyebrow will affect the orbicularis oculi muscle, superior and laterally, and create a little lift, with minimal risk and side effects possible. You can see how we could further increase this lift simply by treating more of the orbicularis oculi muscle, which we can do as we go medially underneath the eyebrow. Typically, a 1-unit dose, always very superficially underneath the lateral third of the eyebrow, will enable more lift while still creating a natural looking result. If you want to understand why this is low risk for causing an eyelid ptosis with a superficial injection, please check out my eyelid ptosis video which explains this. To lift the eyebrow even more, we can utilize the other effect of botulinum toxin to increase the resting tone of the lateral frontalis muscle. All we have to do is treat the medial frontalis muscle. I find this one of the most powerful ways to lift an eyebrow, precisely how I will cover shortly. As you may know, it's typically not advisable to treat the frontalis muscle without treating the glabella complex, because in most patients, although not all, the corrugator and the procerus are sufficiently able to depress the brows so that when you treat the elevator muscle, the frontalis, on its own, and the depressors are no longer opposed, a heavy frown may develop alongside a lateral brow lift, otherwise known as a Spock brow. Even without spocking, your patient may look angry when they are not if you do not treat the glabella in some cases. This also occurs if the medial frontalis is overtreated, even if the glabella complex is treated. It all stems from an overall loss of medial support to the brow. So how do you design a treatment using landmarks on individual faces so that you get bespoke results while using one set of core principles? If you go back to what we've learned about eyebrow shape, we can use this to decide exactly where we want the muscle to be active to lift the eyebrow. The most important line is between the alar base through the mid-pupil, through the arch of the eyebrow, to a point on the hairline. It's the frontalis muscle along this line which I wish to be more active, so that the arch of the eyebrow is lifted. Of course, I don't, however, want ladder lines running all the way up into the forehead, which is a side effect of undertreatment of the frontalis. So I need to shape this area of untreated muscle so that it lifts without causing lines. This is why I draw a line up to the hairline, so that I can see the direction of the vector I'm trying to increase. I then draw a line from the end point to the position of the tail of the eyebrow, and then a second line from the hairline to a point equidistant to the tail of the brow. This triangular shape, often called cat ears by my trainees, is an area where you do not want botulinum toxin to reduce the strength of the lateral frontalis muscle. Of course, there are also other areas of the frontalis muscle that we do not want to treat, and before we start treatment planning, it's important to rule those areas out too. To prevent a medial brow ptosis, it's a good idea to leave a good portion of the frontalis muscle active in the lower third. Typically, I use a rule of 2 centimeters from the orbital ridge. And I'll draw a line here, beneath which is an area I consider to be a safety zone where I should avoid. Conveniently, many patients have very few lines in the lower third of their forehead, and so this area can be left untreated to provide support to the medial brow. The next set of markings is purely to enable you to become more efficient with your botulinum toxin. Mark out the areas where there is no frontalis muscle, but is part of the forehead, so that you know to target areas where there is active muscle and not waste your toxin, for example, on the aponeurosis. What you should be left with is a small area of the frontalis muscle medially, which is ready to be treated, while the areas required to support the medial brow and lift the lateral brow have been excluded from potential relaxation. So how do we decide where to inject the forehead? Most of the forehead is now conveniently excluded, so the bulk of the work is already done. We now need to space our injection points evenly to efficiently cover the area which we wish to relax. The first principle we need to understand is how far does botulinum toxin spread from one point of injection. With a dose of 1 to 2 units, I estimate about 1.5 centimeter circumference of effect on the muscle. In fact, you can consider this about the size of a marble, and our task is to fill the space we want to treat with marble-sized treatment areas. To spread them evenly, I work by dividing the area up first in half and then in half again, placing my planned injection points at logical positions so that in the end I fill the space efficiently and symmetrically. It's vitally important laterally that you are symmetrical, if the face is symmetrical. Small changes in the position of your lateral injection lead to large changes in the relative size of the untreated muscle, which means the relative size of lift. Asymmetrical eyebrows do not go unnoticed, so work hard to do this very neatly. Injection points of the glabella and the orbicularis oculi in most cases fit the licensed positions very well and will contribute some of the overall lift to the eyebrows in a 3-area treatment. Overall, there are several grades of brow lift that we can create. A mild lift by injecting 2 to 4 units into the tail of the brow. A mild to moderate lift caused by injecting orbicularis oculi muscle more comprehensively. A moderate lift by treating the frontalis and the glabella together, and a maximum lift caused by treating the medial frontalis muscle, the orbicularis oculi muscle, and the glabella. Remember, one of the most important factors is the degree of muscle which is left untreated in the frontalis, so that you can adjust a lift that is too strong simply by adding a little more to the top of the little cat ears to soften a lift. I recommend 1 unit right into the tip of that little cat ear. You can also treat orbicularis oculi at the follow-up to get more of a lift if you have only done glabella and frontalis at the first treatment and are not satisfied. Remember, this should be seen the first time you do this as a journey. Adjustments are normal as you get to understand each person's face. I have a fantastic bonus for you for watching this video, which is in the description. You'll find a link to some very useful botulinum toxin injection patterns. They include the licensed dose for different botulinum toxins, as well as some common patterns which emerge when you build treatment designs around individual faces. Remember, the licensed patterns in this document are specifically for treating lines and not for creating an eyebrow lift. In fact, many of those licensed patterns will cause a loss of eyebrow lift and flattening of the brows. Hopefully, the principles I've taught in this video will enable you to selectively use them when appropriate or alter those patterns so that you get the best result for patients wanting a brow lift.
All right, so he goes into a lot of different ways that you can do an eyebrow lift. Whenever you're injecting a patient, if the patient is naturally hooded, you want to make sure that you're staying high enough so you don't make that worse. And then I will automatically go ahead and I will do an eyebrow lift. He talks about how he does it in the tail. I will actually do it 1 centimeter over, kind of how I was talking about earlier, because it will treat more of that orbicularis oculi muscle and give them a little bit more of a lift as well. Sometimes I will do both. Sometimes I'll do 1 centimeter in and at the tail to try to see if I can give those as much lift as possible, and then make sure that I'm treating that glabella complex as well, because that will help elevate things with it. Any questions on an eyebrow lift? Excellent. Okay, next up, microneedling. Okay, so we did microneedling in our class, and this is going to just be a quick recap of everything. I'm not going to go into the history of it. The biggest thing that we're going to talk about are the benefits. And then I want you to write this down because this is going to be part of your homework assignment. So the biggest benefits are going to be, it's going to get rid of fine lines and wrinkles, It can get rid of acne scars. It can help with skin elasticity. I can't talk today. I'm sorry. It helps rebuild collagen. By the time you are 35, half of the collagen levels in your skin will be gone. And then you're after the age of, I think it's 20, what is it? After the age of 30, your collagen level drops 1 to 2% every single year. So it's pretty significant after the age of 35 of what happens with your face. So microneedling does a lot for your skin and for your pores. It decreases pore size, help with acne scars, help with skin texture, can get rid of skin discoloration, scarring, all sorts of things. So it really is a great tool for you to have in your toolbox. Whenever you are doing microneedling, you do want to make sure that you are staying within that epidermis or dermis layer. You do not want to be going down to the sub-Q area. That's why on our MD needle pen, the deepest that we can go is that 2.5. So whenever we were doing microneedling in our class, we were staying at 0.5 for the frontalis, around 0.5 to 1 for the crow's feet. Once you get into the cheek area, you can start doing 2.5. Again, maybe to the chin, 1.5. Around the bicularis oris muscle, that's going to be around 1. And then on the nose, it's going to be 0.5. So the more thinner areas, you want to make sure that you have a less depth of the needle versus the higher, denser areas that you can go a little bit deeper. This just kind of talks about the needle length. This is why we do not want to go below that 2.5 because we are right at that sub-Q. We are right above it. So you do not want to go anything below that. These are all the different areas that you can microneedle. I do a lot of patients' stomachs from stretch marks from pregnancy, or if they've had a lot of weight loss and weight gain, you can do it on that as well. You can do it on elbows, cheeks. I've done it on hands before. You can do it around the eyes. Really, you can do it everywhere. It also helps with regrowing hair as well. Surgical burn scars, all sorts of things. It's crazy of all the different things that can be used for it. So take a quick picture of this. These are the things that y'all are going to be talking about in your homework, because you're gonna do a post about the benefits of microneedling. So you can pick all of them. You can pick some of them, whatever you want, but this is going to be some of the skin conditions that can be treated with microneedling. So give me a thumbs up once you've kind of taken your picture or whatever you did. Perfect. Excellent. Okay. Gonna be going down. You do want to make sure that you numb the patient before you do it. It is pretty uncomfortable. After you numb the patient, let it sit on there for around 15 to 20 minutes or so. Then have the patient wash the numbing cream off, and then you will re-cleanse the face again, and then you will start microneedling. Start at the top and work your way down. You do 3 passes. The goal is to get pinpoint bleeding. You typically get it around pass number 2. If you don't have any on pass 2, that's when you do the stamping on pass number 3. So remember, you can do circles, lines, and stamping. Those are the 3 different techniques. After you do a treatment, the patient should not go swimming for at least 24 hours or put makeup on or any type of working out. You don't want them sweating. You don't want them doing anything that can cause an infection. You just cause several thousand different needle pokes in their face. So you want to make sure that you keep it as clean as possible. They need to wear sunscreen the next day. I usually tell them no makeup for at least 24 hours as well. And I will usually do microneedling on patients around once a quarter or so. These are additional benefits that y'all can talk about in your post. Excuse me. These are the 2 different microneedling serums that we carry. We carry the Glow, which is prescriptive hyaluronic acid, B12, and vitamin C. And then we have the Liquid Gold, which is going to be neurotoxin, HA, B12, vitamin C, and then we add Sculptra as well. Sculptra, think back to training. Sculptra is kind of like a filler substance. It is that polylactic filler that it has little seeds in there, and the seeds will help produce collagen. It will help produce your own natural collagen. And so when you microneedle it into the patient's face, it makes a significant difference. And then when you add the neurotoxin in there, it has an even more profound effect on shrinking the pore size. These are all the different things. And that is a quick recap of microneedling. Any questions? Excellent. Moving on. Okay, so let's talk about employee discounts. So for all of your own personal treatments, you get 55% off. Okay, that is if you want to microneedle yourself, do your own neurotoxin, do your own filler. I don't recommend people doing their own filler, but we have a couple injectors who are crazy and like to do their own filler. If you do want to meet up with other injectors who are in your area, y'all can always have a day where you meet up and you can inject each other. That way you can get it done, but you do all get 5% off on all of your personal treatments. We do ask that you charge an appointment fee on it because and just charge the 12.5. The reason why we do that is, I'm sorry, the 15. The reason why we do that is because the way that our payroll system works, if it does not attach an appointment fee, it won't register the appointment. So that's something that AR has kind of let us know that has to be done. And so you charge yourself an appointment fee that you'll get paid the appointment fee on. So moving on. Okay, so let's talk about an enhancement versus failed toxin versus finesse. So an enhancement is, let's say that you go to do a patient's house and you're going to go do their glabella. And they're like, oh, it's going to be $250. I'm on a little bit of a budget. What can you do for $200? And you're like, oh, great. We're going to delete, instead of doing 5 injection patterns, we're just going to do 3. Remember how we talked about if the patient's on a budget, you just do 3 instead of the traditional 5. And so you're going to delete those 2 lateral ones that are in the lateral core grater. What you're going to do in your note, though, is you need to write that the patient opted not for full dosing based off of budget. So if they elected to not have full treatment because of budget, and then they come back to you 2 weeks later and they're like, oh, I'm just not as frozen as I want to be, that is where your documentation is going to save you. You're going to say, well, remember that we deleted those 2 extra little injection points? That is what would have gotten you more frozen. They would have to pay for those additional units. A finesse treatment is something totally different. A finesse treatment is that you have injected the patient and they have a little bit of a Spock eye, and you go in and you pop in, one unit or 2.5 fluid units into the patient's frontalis to either fix a Spock eye or to fix the little brow ptosis. That is 100% free for the patient. They will not be charged for that. Okay. So just know that. So that's the biggest difference. And then failed toxin does happen. So occasionally, I can probably count on maybe one hand where this has truly happened, that you get a bottle and the bottle does not work. Okay. It is a medication. And if it was shipped to us bad and the bottle does not work, then that is considered failed toxin. You take a picture and you reach out to us. We reach out to the manufacturer and they will replace the bottle for free for us, and we will retreat the patient for free. Okay. So those are the 3 different kind of reasons after you treat someone. I have a friend that needs a Spock eye fixed work done by some other injector, treat as normal or finesse. That would be considered a new patient. That's a great question. So that would not be free for her. She would have to pay for that because she was not our patient. So the only time it would be free is if they were our patient and you accidentally caused a Spock eye. But if someone went to another med spa and they have a Spock eye and want you to fix it, they just need to pay for the units. Good question. All right. And this week, you're going to follow up with the salons that you have reached out. You're going to post a before and after of a brow lift and what it looks like, and that it's under $50. So if someone just wants to get a brow lift all by themselves, it's really just 2 units of Botox or 2 units of Jeuveau, or it would be 5 units of Dysport. So you can always just go in and just do a brow lift on someone, and that would be under $50. So I have a graphic that y'all can post with that. And then y'all are also going to post about the benefits of microneedling on your social media page. And then we added 2 more people for you to follow. It's the Ninja Injector and the Aesthetic Injector, Tawny. Again, 2 more accounts that they do a lot of education, great different tips and tricks. You're going to start seeing, if you haven't already, even from watching Dr. Pierce's education video, that everyone's going to do things just slightly different. Again, there is no one way to do everything every single time. You are just continuing to learn more, add more tools to your toolbox. That way you can take all these tools and apply it to your patient. Do y'all have any questions for me?
How do I access last weekend's class?
It was
trying to
it was posted. If you don't have, let me know if it's not, that the link was not working.
because it was on it's supposed to be in this in the injectors, right? The
It's in the
Facebook one.
It's in the onboarding group.
Yeah, let me check again.
Yeah, I'll tag you in it. Okay. All right. So who has anyone completed their launch party yet? How did it go?
Hey, yeah, it went good. I had like 10 people come, and then I had 6 that were supposed to get injected, but I only got to 5 and we were already at like 8:15. So it went like 2 hours. So I felt bad that, and the last one was a family member, so she was fine with doing it another day. But I think that I should have, in hindsight, done like actual appointments, like gave them blocks. So they didn't have show up at the beginning, and they were all, waiting till 8 o'clock. Some of them,
Yeah.
some of them I knew had to get out of there really fast. So I did them first, but I still kind of like, I talked to another girl that's in our group, Kimberly, and she's doing it where they actually booked 30-minute slots, and then anybody can come. So she may have 30 people show up, but then she knows who she's injecting at a certain time. I kind of wish I would have done it more like that, but
yeah. And it's a learning curve, right? I mean,
yeah.
everyone's going to do it a little different. Actually, there was an injector who she's been injecting with us for a while, and she did a larger party. And when she got to the party, everyone showed up at one time, and she called me. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in way over my head. There's
Yeah.
like so many people here." And it took her probably 2.5 hours to go through everyone. And so by the time that last person goes, they've been sitting for 2.5 hours. They're not happy. And so it's a learning
I think
curve.
they were also concerned, because it said, you're not really supposed to lay down and go to bed for a couple hours.
Yeah.
So it was like, getting to be 8:30, and
Yeah, people are like,
was,
I gotta go to bed.
Lauren was like, well, can you watch a movie or something? No, I don't know. It was a learning curve. I mean, if I did it again, I would definitely do an open concept with booked appointments. So if they just want to come hang out, great. But I was getting stressed towards the end, like trying to hurry it up, and the AR thing is a curve. So, the first 2 took forever.
Yeah.
And then I started to get it. I did make one mistake, but we're fixing it. Which made me so mad, because it's what we went over a million times, and I logged Dysport instead of Botox on one of them. And I'm like, gosh.
You did it and you're like, oh, I have to
And it was too late because she already paid. So now they got to fix it on the back end, and she's got to pay the difference, which it's not much, but still.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
You got it. Danessa, how was yours?
It was good. I had it on Friday where we had that horrible rainstorm.
Mhm.
So a couple of people didn't show, but I still made my quota. I was fortunate enough that me and Lauren talked the day before, and I sent everyone who I knew wanted to get talks for sure. I sent them the booking link, and it made it a whole lot smoother because they had already filled out their questionnaires and everything in there. So it went pretty smooth. So the launch party was a success. And so
Good.
I'm excited.
Excellent. Has anyone else had their launch party yet? Not yet. When are y'all looking at having them?
After Christmas.
Okay, perfect. Christine?
Same.
Yeah, January 12th.
Perfect. Brianna?
Same here, January 6th.
Excellent. A lot of things are going on in January. All right. Well, we are done for this evening. I hope you'll have a wonderful end of your Sunday night. And I know this is a big week with Christmas. we will play it by ear. I don't even know what the date of Christmas is. I'm a bad mom right now. Okay, so our next call, it says it's Christmas Eve. Obviously, we're not gonna have a call on Christmas Eve. And so we will push it back 1 week. Okay. No, I lied. 2 weeks, because that's New Year's Eve. So we will not have another meeting until January 7th, or I can leave it up to y'all. Do y'all want to move it to a different day?
I think that's fine.
You're good with not meeting again until January 7th?
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right, I just want to make sure all the people that have launch parties going up, there's nothing that I'll be okay with that.
I had one more quick question on that special you mentioned in the training from last Sunday about the Juvo crow's feet.
Yep.
That they get $40 off. Is that like expire?
No.
Or is okay?
No, yeah, so it's the way that the math kind of works out, or the way that it works out, is whenever you use Juvo, anytime you use Juvo and you're a new patient, you get $40 off. And then also every 90 days, you get $40 off. And so that's just kind of their thing that they offer. And then Dysport always does $20 off. And then Botox does $20 off the second time you use it. So there, you don't get anything for signing up, but the second time you use it, you usually get $20 off from Allie.
The last thing I was going to ask is I realized at the party that Botox, when you want to get their points that they have in the system, it's not as easy as the Aspire to just click over.
Awful.
And I can't remember how to do that. So is there a way to look that up without having to bother Lauren again? Like, is there like something on our Bamboo or?
So you do not have to log in Allie points. Bernard does it for you. So we've hired someone to do that for you.
Okay.
Yep. So all you have to do for Allie is, and he actually logs, like he goes into every single chart every single day and logs this stuff.
So he'll add their points for us. For the next time.
He adds their points and does all of that. He'll like capture their rewards. So what you have to do is, if someone has $20 off, and that you would just say, you know, Allie, like you'd go into their wallet and you would manually, remember we showed you how you like manually add it into their wallet underneath the dollars. And then you would type in if there's a coupon code, if they have a certain coupon they show you, or if it's just $20 off, they can go and capture it. Bernard will go and capture it on the back end.
Okay, so
Just
basically
need to let him know that
they're logging into their Allie on their phone and showing us their points, and then we're just adding them in. Okay.
Exactly. Yep. And he will go and capture it for you. But we had to hire someone to do it because it was just too tedious to give all of y'all a login and like, yeah. So made it easier just to do it this way. So that is automatically done for you. All right. Well, I hope you'll have a good rest of your evening. I will not see y'all again until January 7th. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Happy New Year. Be safe for everyone who has launch parties prior to that. Good luck. If you need anything, I will be available.
You too. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You
All right.
too.
Merry Christmas.
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.